Morning family, it's Tasha, MamabearPrepping. Welcome to the channel, welcome back to the channel. You already know what time it is. Get your drink, pull up. Yes, it's a good day. Tried to get some sleep last night, was back and forth a little bit, but I'm here. I'm awake, I'm here for it. Got my coffee, watched a few feeds, watched some news, opened up some articles, right? And I'm just gonna get right into it. So today, I don't like necessarily being like a newsy type channel, but I do know that you guys like those type of videos when I talk about things that I'm tracking, things that are worrying to me, alarming to me. And so today I'm just going to go over, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things that I'm tracking, that I basically track every day. So these are areas that when I just said, hey, I'm checking out the news, I'm checking out the local news, I'm checking out the international news, I'm looking at feeds, I'm looking at channel videos for different channels that I follow that regard either news channels, or feeds about what's going on, in the United States, okay? And so these are areas that I look at a lot, but this is what I'm particularly looking at and getting up to speed and watching and tracking right now, okay? So first thing is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. There's a lot of stuff out there right now, with this ramping up. That conflict, you guys, has been going on for a while, okay? There's all kinds of stuff out there to show you that they've been fighting for a while. They've been shooting at each other for a while. Ukrainians, I watched a few videos of Ukrainians getting in battle gear and getting ready, and they're like looking like SEALs, right? They're like from head to toe, all the way decked out, and it's gear that they buy for themselves, okay? And the way they work there is they're very strong in the capacity of their states and their cities. And so what they do is, I don't want to call it like militia, but they form groups, and they have these solid groups that they form in their towns and different states to protect, threats that get that far into what is theirs, right? Almost like people coming together for a town to protect that town against the enemy. So although you have, the big, looming conflict between all of Ukraine and Russia, you have all types of smaller communities and tribes within Ukraine that are totally decked out, ready to go and ready to protect theirs. And so I just thought that was kind of like, wow, they're really dedicated, right? They're really ready and preparing. And so for us on the big screen, seeing what's going on, I care because I want to know how we would be involved in any kind of conflict. If anything major pops off, what would that do? Then in turn, depending on what we did, what could happen to us, right? So I'm constantly watching that. Another aspect of that is I'm always watching China as well, in regards to when you're watching like Belarus and Russia and Ukraine news and you're watching what's going on over there. I'm always keeping my ear and listening, because I feel like that it would be the perfect time for China to backdoor, to really, there's an alliance there of some sort between the two of them. And so it's a bad day when they actually both come together and hit us with something major, okay? And so it's kind of like bread and circuses. You're paying attention to one thing, but you're making sure that you don't get hit from behind on the other thing. So right now, especially, this flares up. I was tracking this heavy a few months ago when it was, ramping up, and it's just ramping up again. And so now it's on my radar again. I'm really watching it and going through my preps and making sure that I have everything, or feeling comfortable with what I have, okay? Next thing I've been tracking lately, probably the last couple of weeks, is earthquakes. So, there was the big cluster of earthquakes all off the Oregon coast and in Oregon. And then now we have a huge cluster off the California coast. And so it's crazy because, one, we're overdue for a major earthquake, okay? We absolutely have to be concerned, if you live on the West Coast, about this big earthquake, and also tsunamis, okay? And what's crazy is, really digging into this stuff, a lot of these communities do not have things like tsunami towers and different things. And so the concern becomes, it's overdue. Are we prepared enough? You can be prepared for maybe the earthquake part of it, but are we prepared for the tsunami part as is equally? Okay. And so I think there's going to be, and another thing they tell you is, there's always activity before, right? And so what's concerning is there's a lot of activity going on. Okay. And so if something popped off or something was going to happen recently or soon, I would not be surprised, because there's so much activity right now. There's for anybody who lives in California, or anybody who has an earthquake like app or whatever, notification system or whatever, earthquakes happen all the time, every day, all day long. They happen already in these little clusters. So that by itself is not really alarming, you guys. That happens all the time. It's just that big media and other states, they see, oh, it was a 6.0 something or something. They're like, oh my gosh, freaking out. And although that is pretty significant, that's not even close to the big one. And although, yes, you feel that and they're shaking, and the damage is depending on where it's at, is very, very low. Okay. The problem is there enough going on right now to make you realize or make you wonder, are we close? Are we getting close to the big one? Okay. And then it becomes, are we prepared enough? Earthquake and tsunami. And the problem that the rest of the United States needs to be concerned with is that all those people that would migrate, okay, to those states, they would just start migrating east. All those people would start moving east, because the devastation would be catastrophic. Okay. And yes, people would rebuild and stay, but a lot of people would migrate and would leave. And that affects all those other states. Obviously the states that are closest to the East Coast states. Okay. So if you live in California, Oregon, Washington, you absolutely should be concerned about what are you doing to prepare for one, earthquakes, but for me, more so tsunami, and how do you get out of that situation? Okay. Next thing I'm tracking is weather. I've always tracked weather a little bit, right? Storms that are coming, but I'm just really paying attention because there's just a lot of wonky stuff going on. There's a lot of things happening in places that they don't normally happen. There's a lot of heavy storms. I mean, even here, for example, it's sunshine all the time, and we've been having just a ton of rain, a ton of wind, a lot of wind lately. And so it's just things that I'm noticing, or parts of the country that are getting just a little bit more rain or a little bit more snow, right? More ice. There's just a lot going on, you guys. And so it's very important to follow your news and I follow a lot of weather apps, not weather apps, but weather channels to ensure what's going on in the country, what's about to hit, because it's important to me to know what's going on. There's a lot of stuff happening all over the world too. It's not just here. So it's something to be concerned with, because it's an area that you need to take into consideration when you're doing your preps and you're figuring out what you need in your holes and how how could that possibly affect you? And then how do you prepare? And then also, could that thing happen here? And if it did, am I prepared for it? Okay. Next thing number 4 thing I'm tracking right now is overreaching mandates. What I'm really listening for is anything to do with, yesterday we had the talks, we got the speech about what they're doing, what the government plans to do. And the one thing I was really, really paying attention to that I wanted to hear, or that I'm tracking, is anything to do with travel. So I pay attention when it's, yes, the airplanes, mandates, if it's anything to do with traveling within the United States or crossing borders. That's what I'm paying attention to and trying to listen to. Any kind of, hey, interstates, mandates, you can't travel on federal interstates, right, unless you have been medicated. I'm paying attention and listening out for that stuff. Yes, there's mandates. I don't really care either way, you guys. I'm going to go about my life and my business as I choose. But I want to be paying attention to anything that I deem a little bit too far and really will affect me. So people not being able to travel from state to state, any kind of bans like that, and any kind of food, anything that has to do with food in regards to, hey, you now cannot go into a grocery store without some sort of passport. Those are the things that I'm listening out for and paying attention to. I haven't seen anything like that yet. I've heard rumbles of like interstate mandates and stuff against truckers. I don't know if that is happening yet, but that's the type of stuff that I'm tracking and paying attention to in regards to, overreaching mandates. The next thing is the thing that he mentioned yesterday was the combo between bringing in the military into the hospital system, implementing them, and FEMA. Now, you guys, the military is often called upon to help in regards to hospitals, overflows, helping build extra hospitals, helping set up beds and extra spaces, setting up, warehouses. That's man labor, right? That's labor. We come in, we help, we do that stuff, okay? That's humanitarian type efforts. Also, if we do have the extra medical type people to help in a situation, that to me is normal stuff. That by itself is not crazy. Like, I'm going to bring the military to help. That's not even a red flag for me, you guys. Being in the military, that's not a red flag. What is a red flag though is bringing in military, hospitals, and FEMA. And when you combine those all together, I don't like that. The whole, we're going to set up some kind of infrastructure outside of hospitals to help with overflow, but really, even though the hospitals are already full, right? But they are pushing the agenda that it's going to be the unmedicated people that are going to be needing that care. And what is going to happen, and what that screams to me, is camps. FEMA has a camp system set up already around the United States. They have a plan in place. You can see that on the FEMA website, okay? And that is a perfect, hey, bring in the military. Okay, you go to a hospital, you are not medicated, you are now positive for a virus, and then the FEMA and all them, that's how you get sent to some sort of camp, because it's public safety, okay? So you really have to be careful moving forward what you're doing, the moves you're making. And for me, that's a huge red flag when the three are put together. Same thing if the three, you have military, you have hospitals, and you have UN. It's the same thing. I don't like the combo at all. And I don't like the combo that he mentioned yesterday. And I hate the fact that it's mentioned in a way where I'm not going to say the average person, but that a lot of people won't even realize what that could mean, okay? And that's how you end up, just wanting help, and then you end up somewhere where they can help you, right? And then maybe you can't leave that place until you're, medicated, okay? And then the last thing I'm tracking is crime. So again, crime happens, crime's on a rise. I don't think that that's alarming with the natural, what's happening in the world, right? A lot of people out of work, a lot of people unemployed, losing their homes. You have a lot of folks that are struggling to put food on the table. You couple that with inflation, they cannot afford things. And so now you have an influx of a way more dangerous or desperate person, okay? People are stealing not necessarily jewelry anymore, but they're stealing food, right? Yes, maybe they are stealing products, but they're stealing those things to resell them, to then get money, to then put food on the table, okay? And so you have, and of course, there's lawlessness when you have a message being put out there that, hey, you can do this and get away from it, and we're not going to hold you accountable. If you put that out there to people, even a basic person who is maybe not a total criminal, but has time on their hands and in mixed company, could possibly and very easily get into, oh, well, nothing's going to happen to me, I'm just going to go ahead and do this, right? I'm going to walk in with this cart and get this cart of food because I know they can't do anything, and I'm going to do it because I have to feed my family, okay? So crime's important. A lot of packages being stolen, a lot of people just walking up boldly, checking doors, trying to get into homes, following people home, mugging people while they're walking their dogs. There's just a slew of things that are happening. And so you just want to pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to what time of day you're doing things. Pay attention to your surroundings in regards to people around you, people in your bubble, people watching you, because it's just very easy to be a target these days, and there's a higher probability, and so it's getting dangerous out there. So just pay attention, head on a swivel, right? So that you're not caught off guard and you can possibly be ready for something, right? I, for example, got groceries delivered yesterday or the day before, and the guy, he dropped off everything and he went to go get another load, and I was picking the stuff up and he's like, oh, I have more, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know. And then as I'm standing in the door, he is really just looking at me from head to toe. He's really just looking at me in a way. And I just was trying to really figure out how he was looking at me, because it really took me off guard. And I immediately was like, oh, hell no. What is he, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if he was trying to look around me and what was my door, if he was trying to assess my weakness, or I don't know, you guys, but it was a very, very uneasy feeling. You know, I ended up going in, I locked the door, I looked out a couple windows, just make sure, but I was very uneasy about the way that this guy, you know, had looked at me. I still right now trying to tell you in words what it felt like. It wasn't necessarily like he wanted to do harm to me, and it wasn't like he was checking me out either, you guys. It wasn't like he was like, oh, it was just a weird, it was a weirdness, okay? And so I go with my gut 100%, right? And so I was on guard immediately, and then I was on guard even, you know, long after he left, in regards to not panic or anything, but I was definitely paying attention, door locked, paying attention outside if I heard something, right? I just was paying attention, okay? You know, I don't know if he was thinking like, oh, she lives alone or something. I don't know, okay? But what I do know is I go with my gut. I go with what I feel with most things in life, and that has benefited me hugely on so many levels, okay? So do the same, prepare, don't be a soft target, okay? And let me know in the comments below what you guys are thinking, what's going through your heads, what things are you tracking? Are you tracking the same preparedness news type items right now? Is there something else that you're tracking? There's a lot of other things that I'm like kind of researching right now and looking at, but these are like the main topics of what I'm really listening to when I'm looking at the normal news, and when I'm looking at my normal news feed on my phone, let's say, or if I'm watching certain channels. Most of the channels that I watch on an everyday basis have to do with these areas, you guys. Okay, those are the videos that I'm watching on a daily basis. Okay, so I hope you guys have a blessed day. Blessings from my bear cave to yours, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Bye.